Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mojo Market Report right here on a Tuesday. It is Tuesday, March the 21st, 2023. It is none other than your host, of course, Dave Sturchio, alongside Chris Gueci, here with another loaded episode of the Mojo Market Report, because obviously the NFL keeps rolling on. The NBA had some serious banger games last night. I watched a couple with furious intent because I went halves on a massive like playful parlay, and I was like, but I didn't have to put any money in.
You just had to do it.
I had to tell him and do it. Yeah, right. And he was like, "This is what I want." And then I had to look at our boy, see what he picked, and say like, "All right, maybe we tail that, maybe we tail that." Splash something down. It was like $500 to win like $3,000, and I came up short multiple ways. So we'll get into all that. The NFL, like I said, rolls on. Lots to get into with that. There's a significant movement on the free agent market again as another tight end decides to join the fray, but I'll get into him in a second because it's a very interesting contract. But we'll start with Tua, because Tua was the topic of conversation last year for a long time. Then he gets his head scrambled, and then he gets his head scrambled again. So it's like a rough year for Tua, but the Dolphins, who, again, I'm sure they have the training staff and they're doing due diligence to make sure this guy's going to be all right. They pick up his fifth-year option, guaranteeing him to be the starting quarterback this year and next year. Your immediate thoughts of them just kind of saying, like, we're good here?
I mean, when you look around the league, quarterbacks are not easy to come by. There wasn't as much available as people thought there would be this year because Derek Carr got signed immediately. And when you're in a position where you have a Tua, do you want to make a lateral move? I feel like Tua has some room for growth. Outside of the injury situation, they can't really sit here and say, we don't think he's going to be good going forward and we're going to move on from him at this point, because then you have to make a move and it has to work out. There's no guarantees that you're going to be the guy to land a player to cause that type of stir in-house if nothing goes down, and then you have to. I think that could have been caused more harm than good. Tua, they played well with him last year. I don't think he was the problem. So
I think you said it multiple times. The record with him when he starts and finishes a game is rather well.
I don't think they lost many. I think if anything, one. So Tua, clearly he wins football games for them. He wasn't the problem. If you look at last season for Miami, it was exactly the opposite. It was like, if Tua's not there, that's the problem. So when he's there, they win football games. They improve the defense. I think Miami's going to make some noise this year.
Yeah, their backup quarterback situation last year wasn't very good. Skylar Thompson was the guy who, obviously, if you were a investor in Skylar Thompson last year, you did make some money because the opportunity kind of presented itself. But right now, Tua, within the Mojo market, is the 25th highest priced quarterback. He's sitting there at $41.82 a share. He's sitting there right between Mr. Jameis Winston, right in front of Daniel Jones. Is that fair? Fair assessment right now? I mean, look, not a lot of bank value out of this guy yet because obviously he's only been in the league a couple years. Winston's been in there for a couple cups of coffee.
I think it's low. I still believe that Tua is very low. If he's there, does Winston have many more games left in him as a starter?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think if Winston's in a starting situation, your team is probably either A, seeking quarterback help elsewhere, or B, someone on your team is already hurt, and that's why Winston's playing. So I don't agree that he should be anywhere close to Winston. I'll stand by this. Even with the injury situation, I stand by that Tua is one of the biggest buys in the market right now.
His average earned per year is $4.16. His future value is just sitting right at $29.34. So if you do the math, they're looking at another 7 years out of Tua, based off of just keeping it status quo. And with this option by itself, he's up 3.3% on the Mojo market. So that helped bolster his stock price right away. Specifically, my expectations for a guy like Tua, you would have to look right within the division first, and that division's getting better. The Jets, who obviously were just kind of waiting for that news to be news at this point, for the Jets to get Aaron Rodgers, they'll be exponentially better. The Buffalo Bills, where I feel like they regressed a little bit. Josh Allen was banged up a lot last year, but they're going to be good again. They went out and signed Damian Harris from the New England Patriots, so they're getting themselves another running back as they lose Devin Singletary, and obviously they still have James Cook too, so they have a decent running game over there in Buffalo. And then when you look at the Patriots, I'm seeing reports, and I said this last year, there is reports that multiple players have come forward. Again, take this how you want. but multiple players have come forward and said they would prefer to play with Bailey Zappi over Mac Jones. So it's like that's going to be a controversy the entire time, because if there's ever a Spider-Man meme when it comes to quarterbacks, it's those guys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't know that really has any bearing whatsoever, especially a Bill Belichick run.
Truth.
Like,
Yes.
you really think Bill is asking the backup corner who he thinks should start quarterback? I don't.
Probably not.
And I don't know, man. Like, I see on Twitter, it seems to me that Mac Jones is one of the guys. The way that they all talk, interact on social media. I mean, understanding that they could still be cool with him if he's the backup, that has zero bearing on that situation. But,
Right.
I mean, going back to the Tua thing, I understand that he has some competition in the division, but since this is largely a stat-based thing and a lasting long thing, the one thing that worries me is lasting long, but stat-based. He's got Jalen Waddle, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got a really good young head coach. I think that he's in a prime position that if he plays those 7 years as if they predict, he's going to outdo the market projections based on his numbers, because he's going to throw a ton of touchdowns. He's going to throw for a ton of yards. That's just going to happen with those receivers. So as long as they keep that core together, and that's the guys he's throwing to, Tua's going to put up massive numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be underneath stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to have to put too much air under the ball.
Even still, he's still a quarterback in the league. Is he able to hit you in stride at 70? No, but is he able to get the ball down the field? I mean, last year they were doing just fine.
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys the secret, right? I'm going to tell you guys why you have questions about Tua. Because he is the only lefty quarterback in the league right now, and his whole mechanics just looks a little weird to you. So that's why you're looking like, I don't know if he's got the arm strength. He does. It's just the other arm, right? So, like, he definitely has the capabilities of being a big-time quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Those guys are stacking. They're bringing back their running back crew. We'll see how they play out in the AFC East.
I'm not sure if Miami's done adding pieces yet.
I don't think so either, because
away.
Jalen Ramsey's now in the secondary, so they're trying to bolster that as well. So the AFC East might be some fun football to watch, along with the NFC East, along with some of these divisions. They're really, really tight. Speaking of a division that's way up in the air because of the removal of one Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady says, I'm done. Sure, there's going to be rumors, maybe I'll come back. No, he's done. Tom Brady's over, right? Now you have the NFC South up for the taking right now. And while all signs kind of point to the Saints having the best roster because you added Derek Carr, you might lose Kamara for a couple games because of suspension, but overall you're going to have him. Michael Thomas with the restructure, he's back.
Didn't the Saints just sign somebody too? They signed Jamal Williams.
They did sign him. What a great press conference. That dude, if I can hang out with anybody in the NFL right now, he'd probably be in my top 3.
Yeah, and it's a wonder because he's clearly a fan favorite wherever he goes. How he was let go twice. Like, I understand the Montgomery signing.
After scoring, what, 17 touchdowns?
I understand the Montgomery signing, but what did Jamal Williams sign for? Was it much more than Montgomery?
No.
Why are you moving off of that?
I don't know. That is puzzling. Look, the Lions have been very active in free agency, don't get me wrong. But the pieces that they're losing, they do lose their running back coach, Stu Staley. He leaves. He goes to joins Frank Reich. But, like, I'm looking right now at Jamal Williams in specific. Take 17 touchdowns off the Detroit Lions last year. They're nowhere near where they were. So, like, to just let him walk, and then you paid Montgomery just a little bit too much. If you look at the rest of the I was talking to Brett Ernst yesterday, and I'm looking at I said, bro, every position, and we'll get into it in a second. Before I get into Mac Hollins, I do want to say that Dalton Schultz signs with the Texans. So he's leaving Dallas officially. He signs with the Texans. 1 year, $8 million. That's less than the franchise tag for the tight end. You know what I mean? So all of a sudden, like, Dallas said, no, we're not franchising you because we're going to use it on Pollard. You're telling me Dallas wouldn't pony up and say, all right, $8 million for the guy that one of Dak's favorite targets? And I'm not mad that we lost him because I think they have depth. I really do. Jake Ferguson season, baby. I'm all for it.
I think that when you're looking at there's not much wiggle room on an $8 million 1 year deal. So there's no really you could alleviate any money by deferring anything. So it's like that's base.
By the way, still batting 1,000 is this front office. Did you see what Dallas did to Brandon Cooks deal?
No.
They turned his $12 million base into $6 million like that. So it's like
that's good.
Amazing. They're doing great.
And they'll probably cut him after this year.
Maybe.
But look, I think that Dalton Schultz fell flat in a contract year. He had an opportunity to make himself some money, and he didn't deliver. Granted, there was an injury, but that's the NFL. He's got to go make his money again. And I don't know if the Texans are the right place to do it.
I'm seeing a lot of one-year deals again.
Look,
a lot of these,
especially
like,
at tight
here,
end,
prove it.
Especially at tight end, I think he leaves a lot to be desired in the blocking department.
I tell you what, and I don't want to get blocked for this because I do like him. And I never say bad things on Twitter about specific players, but the best blocking that Dalton Schultz did last year was on Twitter. He blocked everybody who said he couldn't block. He didn't want to hear it. He was blocking everybody left and right. And I was like, fair.
Well,
fair assessment. The guy struggled in the blocking department.
There's
Yes.
guys like Mercedes Lewis who will remain in the league for a really long time
because he can hat on a hat.
Because he can block.
Right.
And when you're a tight end, you have to be able to block, especially if you're a tight end that. Now, granted, I'm not saying doesn't possess some athletic ability and pass catching skills. He does, but if you put him on the field, what are you doing? You know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Right. You're not going to put him on in a running situation.
You will, but it's like that's a liability.
It is.
It kind of just it's telling, and teams don't want to. They want to avoid that at the tight end position.
Houston was quite active yesterday. They also inked Devin Singletary from Buffalo, so they're trying to stockpile some talent down there because they're going to have to surround whatever rookie quarterback they wind up with in the top of the draft this year. So, are the Texans going to be a competitive team? D'Amico Ryan's head coach. I like him, but it's whatever. If you give me 5-6 wins out of the Texans, you're basically tripling like you did last year. So again, it's a work in progress, but they're spending money, so at least they're going for something. The Mac Jones deal. I'm sorry, not Mac. Mac Hollins. Mac Jones before. Mac Hollins deal is interesting to me because Atlanta. We were talking about the NFC South being relatively wide open. The Saints with the better roster, sure. The Panthers, I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
About Thielen and what he said. I mean, I get confidence, wholeheartedly get confidence. You bring in Miles Sanders, you bring in the veteran quarterback to mold whoever you choose at the top of the draft. Adam Thielen thinks the Carolina Panthers are a Super Bowl team right now. I don't foresee that. You got to get out of this division, but the main thing I wanted to talk about was the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we're talking about year 2, Desmond Ridder, year 2, Tyler Algier, and year 2, Drake London. We're talking about the resurgence of Kyle Pitts. All these guys, these young pieces on Atlanta, in a division where I feel like it's, I don't want to say wide open, but it's definitely up for the taking this year now that Brady's gone and the Bucs are in a little bit of a fire sale mode. I mean, they did add Baker, so I don't know how much value you put on that. But can the Atlanta Falcons, run with the division at the very least next year?
I think the Falcons' offense is going to be really good. They're going to run the ball well again. I don't know, man. Desmond Ridder is the dark horse here. If he plays well, look, they have Heineke to fall back on. So at the very least, you know what you're getting. Let's just pretend like Desmond Ridder and Heineke are a Jace. Like that's the same player, because I think that's a fair assessment at this point. If Ridder's going to be better, it might not happen out of the gate. Right now, with Taylor Heineke at the helm, they have a chance to compete in that division, but they're not going to run away with anything. That defense still has major holes. They could make some improvements in the draft, but anything that's going to turn the corner this season, I don't think so. They need help on defense, but if you look around the division, everyone needs help somewhere. So yeah, they're in the mix for sure. They were somewhat in the mix. All teams were somewhat in the mix this year. You know,
they were to the very
Brady.
end. Yeah.
So I think if Tampa Bay's defense maybe steps up this year, that might be still the best unit in the division. If you look at all told, defenses and offenses, the Tampa defense might still be the best unit, right? But
Carolina's defense was pretty good. Not great, but good. You might be on the money with that one.
I would say it's up for debate because they still got to go out and play the games, and there's been a lot of turnover since. And that Tampa defense that was really lights out a couple years back, they've lost players. And
they did bring back Levante David though, so that's a good thing.
They have a good defense.
He was basically one foot out the door.
They have potential, and if there's one thing I think Todd Bowles can do well is coach up a defense. So I think Tampa Bay's defense will keep him in games. Who's going to win that division? I don't know. Atlanta's a good improvement though, and I like a lot of the pieces they have on offense. It all comes down to Desmond Ridder.
Yeah, he is the wild card after all. So, any interest in a Cam Newton pro day?
No.
What is that?
I mean, good for him. Get on it. But, I'm more interested in, they give a ton of pro days out, by the way.
There's another guy. There was a lineman I read. Did you see the size of him?
Yeah, Linval
Flunker.
Was it?
No, Flunker.
DJ
Fluker. Right.
DJ Fluker.
Him.
First of all, did you see the size of him in a Jaguars uniform?
Right. So
he was hungry.
Yeah, hungry boy.
But now he just looks like a machine.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the entire video, but I don't know if he was wearing something special on his feet or if those were his actual feet, but is he a size 38 shoe? It was
Shaquille O'Neal.
Bro, insane. Shaq. It's like he's like 6'2" with Shaq's foot, so it looks even more uncomfortably weird.
Now I have to go watch it. But anyway, yeah, Cam Newton scheduled a pro day with Auburn, so he's going to kind of try to reinvigorate his career.
The video didn't like go all the way down, so I'm like looking at my phone. I'm like trying to look down in the screen. I'm like, it doesn't work that way.
No, it does not. That's like when you go under an underpass and you duck. It's like but
playing
you're
video
fine.
games as a kid, and it's like.
Exactly. Anyway,
as a kid,
right? As a kid, as if it wasn't 3 days ago. To basketball, ladies and gentlemen, there was a lot of action last night. I was talking to you guys about this in the open. I had some heavy action with a lot of these guys, specifically also on the market. But I didn't do so well. Last night was a bad night. Okay, they happen. It's not horrible. I don't bet irresponsibly. I made money last year for me to have some house money to play with and invest in. So I'm around on these liquid props, and I'm like, here we go. Let's do this. James Harden. Come on, man. Like, first of all, lost in double overtime, which, by the way, very, very, when you're down the stretch like this is a Jimmy Palumbo line. That's a bad loss. You cannot lose to Chicago in Philadelphia in double overtime when Embiid has the night he has. Harden, my God. You got, first of all, no threes. He was set at 3. So none of those. He was set at 21 points. Have yourself a day, James. Scored 5. You cannot have that off of a day. So my question to you, Chris, about the Philadelphia 76ers right now sitting in third, firmly entrenched in the third spot, up 4 games on the fourth spot. So it doesn't look like they're going anywhere past third. Can they get to 2? How far can this team go? Like, if you put up a performance like this and you fall short, where is your confidence level in a Philadelphia 76ers team as it pertains to the Celtics and the Bucks?
I mean, I don't think it's all that confident going forward in terms of passing them in the standings. I think they have a shot in a playoff series.
They're just a half game behind the 2 seed, the Celtics, and they're 3 games behind the Bucks. So you would assume that the
Bucks,
1 seed's
I feel like
out.
the Bucks got this. Like they're winning
Top dogs,
basketball games. They're legit. You know, you're going to need them to lose, almost half their games for you to catch them at this point. I don't think that's going to happen. Obviously, the Celtics thing is in play. Is Jaylen Brown even back yet?
I don't know.
Right.
I haven't watched the Celtics game in a couple days.
I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to catch the Celtics or pass them. I'm not so sure, based on how things go, that either team cares. Because who's the 6, who's the 7, we don't know. It's all jumbled together. So, it's if they meet in the series, those 2 teams, that's the only way it'll matter. But either way, one of those 2 is going to play they're going to play in the Eastern Conference semis, and then they're going to play the Bucks. Either the Celtics. I mean, I think it's going to go chalk. I don't know that any team is going to be able to make an upset.
The 76ers are 8-2 in their last 10, so it's not like they're playing bad basketball. But when it comes to trying to get to that 2 spot,
what are the Celtics in their last 10?
5-5. So that's why it's right
doable.
there.
Yeah, then scratch everything I just said, and yes, the 76ers will.
They could.
No, I don't
they
know.
could.
Celtics have to get it right.
They do. But again, 60, so 70. They're right there, man. The games are they're right there. It's like 9-10 games left, 2 weeks left of basketball regular season, so it's right there for the taking. I do want to mention, can't go a show without mentioning my beloved New York Knicks last night. Man, look, and I'm not calling the Timberwolves a bad team. I wouldn't want to do that because of, obvious reasons. But the Timberwolves should have not beat the Knicks last night. The Knicks, Julius Randle had himself a career night, literally career night. He is now 3rd all time on the Knicks list as far as points scored in the game. I believe Melo has 1 and Bernard King has the other, and he just surpasses all that. He had 50 going into the 4th quarter. So you got to put those games away. You got to win those games. And when I look at the Knicks right now, who are now 3 games behind the Cavs with just little to play, it ain't going nowhere. I don't think the Knicks are going to get past the 4. I think they're firmly entrenched in the 5. They're up 2 games on the Nets with the 5. So, even if the Knicks play 500 ball the rest of the way, they should win or get into the playoffs as the 5 seed. But that just means you're going in to play Spider Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Do you think the Knicks have the ability to get out of the first round this year with the team they have, the points to score, and the guys that are doing it?
I think there'll be some good games. I think that Cleveland is a little bit better than the Knicks, and it'll show. The Knicks are, I said this all year, that the Knicks weren't as good as they are. Their standings show, and that's part because the Eastern Conference is weak at the back end. But the Knicks have been proving me wrong all year, so could they prove me wrong one more time? We'll see. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have been a team that I've been riding since really the midway point last year. I've just been on this team. And they made me a lot of money when I was betting NBA early in the year. And they've managed to stay put. You know, this team is a good team. They have some good players.
Cleveland 7-3 in their last 10, so they're playing good basketball, and the Knicks are 6-4, so they're kind of
It's setting up for
complementary
a
to
really
each other.
dope series, and hopefully we get a little bit of a budding rivalry because of the Donovan Mitchell backstory.
You would think. You would think that's what's going to happen. And unfortunately for the Knicks, if history repeats itself, there's always one superstar player that comes into a playoff game or a big game scenario, a la Trae Young a couple of years ago, where he just went absolutely ham and ruined the hopes and dreams of all the Knicks fans. Look, it's exciting to be a fan in New York at this point because obviously you got the Knicks, you got the Nets, they're both getting in. I know you're not a hockey guy, but the Rangers and the Devils and the Islanders all might be playoff teams. You got baseball coming back. The New York metropolitan area is a very exciting place to be right now in the spring. It's just that I think all the cards are being pushed into the Knicks basket because they realize we got Brunson. Randle plays out of his mind every so often, right? And then you got Hart. You're bringing Hart on a trade. So all of a sudden, the Knicks are making key moves when, again, much like my Cowboys we talked about yesterday, I'm not used to this aggression.
I would say to everybody to take those eggs that you have in the Knicks basket and put them somewhere else because they're not going to do anything in the postseason. Now, I'm understanding it's exciting. You want to get postseason
define
basketball,
anything. You really don't think they can get out of the first round?
I don't think that they're – even if they get out of the first round, cool.
Yeah, then looking at them in the face will probably be a 76ers, Celtics, or Bucks.
It'll probably be the Bucks.
Fun times. Bring it, Giannis. I don't sweat you. Giannis.
Do you think that
I sweat Joel Embiid sometimes
for it to
more
be
than Giannis.
anybody but the Bucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would need either the Sixers to lose or the
I would be a big Nets, Heat, Hawks, Raptors, Bulls, all those teams.
I would say that the Heat would have a chance to upset somebody.
The Heat right now are the 7th spot. They would be matched up
With Boston.
with Boston. That's a hell of a
So
series.
let's go Philly because I think they have a better chance at beating Philly because they're the one team that has the potential to maybe match up with Embiid down low at Adebayo. He's a good defender on the block, so that could help. And Jimmy Buckets, you know,
Love Jimmy Buckets.
Jimmy Buckets. I feel like the Jimmy Buckets might be James
At the same
Harden's
time, hate Jimmy Buckets.
worst nightmare in a playoff series.
Yeah.
Like, is James Harden even going to play?
It's the playoffs, so probably not.
But like,
Listen.
Yeah, he'll play, but is he going to play?
You can't put it together a performance like you did last night because that's not going to get it done, specifically down the stretch in playoff time. So obviously, those things are going to get crazy. I still can't get over the Knicks. You know, when Thibodeau got there, it was defense, 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 right? That was the name of the game. Play good defense, you'll win some basketball games. They let up 140 points last night.
Well, I mean,
not a lot of defense.
I guess it's probably good on Thibodeau for just kind of falling in line with the rest of the league.
Score points.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Knicks scored $134. That should get it done. Much like in the NFL, when teams score like 27, you should win that game. Okay, you should win that game.
Maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, was it overtime yesterday?
No. They just lost in the regulation. But you could do us a favor, and you can follow us right now on TikTok. By the way, and I haven't been as active on TikTok as I've wanted to. I've had aspirations to do it. You should definitely follow us on TikTok because the TikTok reel, the TikTok. Yes.
What's TikTok?
Oh, see, you're so old. The TikTok edits are different than the Instagram edits. A little extra over on TikTok. I think you could do extra things on TikTok. Our videos look awesome, and they're getting roasted by a lot of people, which is fine. It's called interaction. It's called what's the one? What am I looking for? Interaction.
Banter?
No, there's like a word.
Engagement.
There we are.
So,
engagement.
There was a thing about, my girlfriend, my family members, when they see these clips and there's like people roasting me.
They want to go in?
They're like, can I say something? I'm like, just leave it alone. Who cares? You have to understand, these people have nothing against us. They have something against our take. Like if I say something about, let's say.
I don't know. Sometimes it feels personal.
Like if I say something.
Look at the guy in the hat. Moron. I'm just like.
DC Brock.
Oh, well, that was a whole. We keep getting updates about that one. Not even fun anymore.
People defend their team with every ounce of honor they have. So I find it interesting. We'll just say that. I'm the same way, only I just don't engage. But I if I see somebody say something I don't like, in my head, I don't just type it, but I say like,
He'll bring it up to me the next morning.
Well,
like,
he's an idiot.
You see those guys go in on you right now? You see those takes? And I'm just like chomping at the bit, like, come on, I gotta talk, I gotta respond.
I also troll on the internet from time to time, where I just drop in on
You're one of
comments.
those.
If you just scour around the internet, you'll see random like funny comments by me. I say they're funny because I think they're funny.
All right, well maybe they're funny. Anyway.
It's funny though. It is funny.
Another loaded NBA slate tonight. We'll see if the NFL makes any more moves as we move along in free agency. Obviously, tomorrow we'll get into that. We'll start covering some of these teams and how they stack up against other teams in regards to what moves they've made and how good they could potentially be as we are entering draft season. Like, it's right there. Like, another week or two of free agency where it's all about signing free agents, and now you have to shift your entire focus to the first round of the NFL draft. And the rest of the rounds for that matter, too. For Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, this has been another episode of the Mojo Market Report. Make sure you like the video, guys. Share the stuff. Tell your friends. We're the best. We're fun out here. We're having a great time every morning. So do that. As you're looking around, you find there's a bird that almost hit the window behind you?
No, just doing a little ocular pat down.
Recon. See you guys tomorrow.